Hi everybody, today's Thursday, July 11th, 2019. We're going to go over these boxes here and I'm going to show you the dimensions and kind of the concept, go over it a little bit more. I've talked about the versatility here. Underneath this box, you know, typically the bees, Langstroth came up with these idea of bee space. Studied them and came up with, you know, if they have just the right amount, they'll build perfect comb. If they have too much room, they'll build wild comb, all of those factors. Well, when you put a box on top of this one with more frames, you have a certain distance. And at the very bottom, the traditional amount is 1 inch of space from the bottom of the frame to the bottom board. And that's going to be significant here in a minute. But on these feeders have about the same distance they would on a standard box at the bottom of the frame. So that way you end up with the space that the bees, you know, here, you know, there's about a half of an inch of space from the top of the frame up to here. Not enough to really build any comb, but yet enough that they can wander around up there and defend the whole area. When we put them onto here, they've kind of got they've got about a 3/8 of an inch space right here that they can go over into this area. And that's good because when you go to put this back together, you do an inspection and you got a few bees around here, you just got to clear the edge for this lip to sit on. And when you set that on there, you won't crush bees. These vents, I'll talk about the vents. The vents are, come on over and get some close-ups. 3 inches. This is all 3/4 inch boards. And it's just made to the same outside. Now these particular boards were notched out with the dado blade on a table saw. You don't have to, it can just be straight box cuts. You could use a router bit. If you've got a little bit of basic woodworking skills but you don't have a table saw, a router and a couple router bits, you can do all of this, these notches. But when this sits on here, the 3 inches tall, they're 3/4 inch holes, and they have number 8 hardware cloth stapled on. And it just creates a little spot above because the feeders have the vent built into them, which is the access to the liquid feed as well as ventilation. So there's that on, and I can just transfer this. When I got 2 frames here and I got a queen back and they've built up 2 frames, I move them right into the 5-frame box and then they build that up, and then we can either put them then into a 10 or add another box or make a split, whatever. But when this is done, rather than needing a whole bunch extra feeders for something, you know, that doesn't fit on here, or does fit here and not there and vice versa, these are interchangeable. They just fit on there. So basically what I've done with the nucleus box, the 2-frame box, this is a standard man lake box. So we've allowed that 1 inch extra underneath, and then same distance up the top, the notch is all the same. And we've just added these 2 wings. So ultimately, just to give you an idea, 5 1/4 inches, and our standard overall width is 9 5/8. So we cut our 2 boards, we take our 5 1/4, and then it works out to about 2 1/4 on this one here is about 2 3/16, and then just put 3 screws through the side to hold this on. And then that's all it is. That's it. It's a standard same length, 19 7/8. It's just a front board, 2 sides, a back and a bottom. That's all there is to it. And you just basically make it to fit your frames. Now on the feeder, I got to give credit where credit's due. This idea, these 2 frames, I mainly saw it on Barnyard Bees. You can check them out on YouTube. They have a store. They're in Georgia. Great to work with. They sell queens, nukes, packages, and everything. They're a distributor for Man Lake, and they have additional things besides. They're great to work with. Now for the feeder, giving credit where it's due, I've seen it 2 places. Number 1, Kelly Beekeeping. They are now owned by Man Lake. But before that, I had bought a couple nucleus kits that included, because Man Lake doesn't have any feeder for their nucleus boxes. Kelly Beekeeping did. they sold a kit that had a bottom, a feeder, and a top in your main box. And that box was similar, but had just an aluminum tray in it. And that aluminum tray was little bitty. This here will hold a gallon. Their little tray would only hold barely over a quart. Another place that I saw that has done it is Don the Fat Bee Man. You can look him up on YouTube as well. Don is, I can't say enough about his knowledge with commercial beekeeping. If you want to make bees, look him up. He will teach you an immense amount. So anyway, I've modified these. I came in and added these wings to make all of this versatile. I came in and I made these stainless steel trays and made it more capacity. When you put these trays in any gap, you want to use food grade silicone and seal them up. When you put your plywood bottom in, if you have any gaps, seal it with silicone. Because what will happen is, if you get any ants or small hive beetles, they can get and hide in that little gap. And they can just wander about. The bees will be over here trying to think they're down there, and that thing will walk down and come out, and it's not a good scene. Leave it to where the bees can defend it easier. Now, if you don't, and you put this hive top feeder on for a little while, the bees will, on their own, eventually propolize all of those cracks. They will seal it, but it takes a while. You can just help them out and save them the time. So what we've got here, this is, or before I get into that, you can change this a little bit if you want. These stainless trays, I custom make at my shop. I don't know, short of having somebody custom make them, you're gonna have trouble finding them. You can modify this and adapt it and adjust to any container that you can find. You can get shoe boxes at the dollar store. You can use the aluminum trays. You may be able to find some type of a Rubbermaid thing at Walmart, some type of trays, whatever. But the ultimate goal is to let this ladder system, this screen, go down in there so the bees can access that sugar water and have it down to the bottom so they can use it all. And, keep it concealed so that the bees can't get up in, because if it's open, the bees will get in and will drown. So for this particular example, there again, if you found some trays that were a little deeper and say, oh man, that sample, that he showed us it's 4 inches tall. Well, I can't find boxes that are fit in there. Just make it a little taller. This is 3/4 of an inch, the same outside as this nucleus box, 9 5/8, 19 7/8. We come in and we added the 2 handles. I did that just for convenience. If I have sugar water in and I need to go do an inspection, it's easier for me to use the Hive tool and get it popped off, get it loose, and grab the handles and lift it off so that we're not spilling it. It's just easier to have something to hold on to with that. Underneath here, we've left 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch of gap. So cut this notch. That notch is cut 3/4 of an inch deep by 3/8, half of our 3/4. I'm going to take this ladder system off. It's just 2 screws that hold this on here. So we pull off the 2 screws. That reveals this. Number 8 hardware cloth with staples. It's wrapped around. When the bees come up through this hole, they get up into that and they can go down and fit in between these 2 layers, which is that thickness, and collect the sugar water and take it back down. They can't get out of it. In here is a piece of 3/4 by 2.5, cut to fit length 8 inches, and it goes and sits inside there. The distance back here is 2 inches. These 2 blocks here are 3/4 by 2 by 2.5. There's nothing fussy about this. You could change that, move it over, move it back. It doesn't matter, just change your blocks here. This could be wider, it could be narrower. It's nothing important. And that's it, you're just making a frame. You're putting these 3 pieces in your tray. Then for the ladder, on the ladder. These boards are 1/2 inch thick, and they are 2.5 by 3, 2 of those, and then this board coming up here is 1 inch by 4.25 is the total length. They're cut at a 45, and because with that 45 at that length, just taking sand off just a little bit so that way it's fitting flush at the bottom. Fitting flush at the bottom is going to help your screen flow nice and smoothly, so when you put this down on, it seals off that space so bees can't get past it. And you just put these together, and then it just sits down on there. That's it. That's all there is to it. Don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions. I'm not that good at trying to make I could make a drawing and try and put it on I don't have a website or anything like that. These boxes were put together with staples, with an air nailer with staples. Is how we assembled these, and you know, that's it. It's really simple, but it's more a matter of the concept. You can change the dimensions around except for your overall. The height doesn't make a difference one way or the other, and the type of tray really doesn't matter. So I hope that helps you. Thanks for watching, everybody.